Okay, I'm just going to give a minute or two to let people pop over before we hop in so I don't have to repeat a whole lot of stuff. Um, Go ahead and let me know if you can hear everything and everything's popping up. If you have any fantasy questions before we get started, whether it be pitchers or position players, feel free to go ahead and pop them into the chat. I'll do my best to go ahead and answer them for you. As I screen the Yankees Blue Jays game up here in the background, I'm editing a lot of footage. I've done 12 spring training games so far just to get ready for fantasy season and putting my rankings together, everything like that. But we are definitely getting there. So again, if you have any fantasy questions, feel free to pop them up in the chat. As read up on a little news here. I guess a big question for anybody that's watching, where do you think Harper's going to go? I'm kind of hoping the Dodgers, being a Nationals fan, I'd rather not see him in Philadelphia. It'd kind of break my heart a little bit. Earlier I got to watch the Mariners play the Reds, so I got to see Kikuchi's first game. So I figured I might bring him up a little bit. We'll touch on some prospects too. Okay, so I'll go ahead and jump in. We'll go ahead and get started here. As you can see on your screen, and let me know if it starts lagging or anything like that, we have, clearly these are not sleepers. The 5 you can see here, these are pitchers that I am targeting heavily, more so than others. These aren't the traditional top 5 in rankings, but they're the 5 I'm targeting. First being Max Scherzer. If you're going to take a pitcher first, or you have a shot to take a picture, grab one. This is the one you want, more than anything. Scherzer, and I'll just hold it up, and you can see the stats here in the back. Well, this is just the wins leaders. But the wins are going to be there again, because, as is the case with all these pitchers, they have good offenses. You know, it was great if you had Jacob deGrom last year. The detriment, though, is he's the ace of your staff, and he, didn't get to double-digit wins. So, he went, and then even the year before 2016, he won 7 games. So, yes, his peripheral numbers are great, and you don't want to chase the wins, but you definitely want to set yourself up nicely to potentially get the wins, because a standard roto league is still going to categorize wins. That's still going to be one of the 5 categories. Scherzer will get it for you. He'll also get you a ton of strikeouts. So if you're in a points league, take him even higher. I was in a points league, and pitchers weren't going in the first round in most standard leagues. I took Scherzer with the 5th overall pick because last season and the season before, Scherzer was the top scorer in points leagues. And for those of you who may be new, who aren't sure what points leagues are, those aren't your head-to-head, where, I might play Mark Smith one week, and, it's like best out of the 10 categories. So if my team hits 8 homers and his hits 6, I get the 1 point. And I might beat him 7-3 that week, and that goes into my total. Your points leagues carry over throughout the season. So, one, you can do head-to-heads points leagues as well, which is done the same way. But in a points league, I get a point for every strikeout that Max Scherzer gets. I lose a point for every hit he gives up or every walk he gives up. So control is very important as well. I get 5 points for every win, 5 points for every save. So you do want to chase wins to an extent. You want a lot of strikeouts. This is how he ended up being the number one player in the points leagues, because a single is 1 point. So you can get the best hitter in the league. You know, you can get. Let's see. I'm gonna use D Gordon as an example because he hits for a pretty high average and he steals bases. Stolen base is 1 point. A single's 1 point. He may get 170 hits, 30 steals. Really good numbers in a head-to-head league, in a standard league. That would only be 200 points in a points league. Scherzer may strike out 300 batters. He's already got 100 more points than D Gordon did before you even count in the wins. So, somebody I would target in points leagues, I'd get him in the head-to-head as well. Another guy who's going to have insane strikeout numbers, Justin Verlander. Again, has another strong lineup working with him. Struck out 290 last season, which led the American League. And I don't know what's going on in Houston, but whatever they're doing is working. Always bet on their pitchers. It may be a small lineup, but the spin rate they're getting on the ball is insane. And it's helping out every pitcher in that rotation. So you can always bet on them as long as that coaching staff's intact. I feel the same way about Pittsburgh as far as under the radar pitchers, because as long as Rich is there, the pitchers are going to do fine. Like, I was all over Jamison Taillon when he got called up. I was all over Francisco Liriano when they brought him in the first time. I was all over A.J. Burnett. There's guys that you just know can resurrect their careers with specific coaches if they have the stuff. Another one, Corey Kluber. Kluber has won at least 18 games in each of the last 3 seasons. So if you want to chase the wins, this is another guy you can go after. Because the Indians still have a solid lineup, and they're in a very weak division. So he can pile up wins on AL Central teams. His ERA may go up just slightly based on his peripherals and be around 3 instead of the mid-2s, but he's almost a lock to strike out 200 again. Okay. Garrett Cole. Cole is also going to benefit from the Houston pitching coach. He's going to benefit from the offense. He's going to be very similar to Justin Verlander, but you're not going to have to draft him as high. Verlander may go off in the second round in some drafts, third round at the latest. Once somebody takes Scherzer, other pitchers are going to start going off the board. And you want to make sure, if you can, to get at least one of them. One of the others to make sure you want to try and get on your team, Aaron Nola. He was third in Cy Young voting last year, went 17-6, a 2.37 ERA. He struck out 9.5 per 9 innings. He's actually had more than 9 Ks per 9 innings in each of his last 3 seasons, and has never given up more than 2.6 walks per 9 innings. So he's really good in a roto. He's going to be really good in a head-to-head because that's going to keep his whip down. He's definitely someone that I target. I actually have him quite high in my rankings because of his age as well. He's only going to get better. And that Philadelphia lineup has gotten better around him, even without Bryce Harper. So, if I can't get Scherzer and I can't get Verlander, Aaron Nola is my 3. I take him before I take Kluber, before I take Cole. Nola will be gone by the end of the 4th round. So you may be able to get a solid hitter. You may be able to pull a Scherzer and a Verlander, or one of those two, and then still wrap around and get Aaron Nola in the 3rd or the 4th. And then your starters are pretty much secured for the year. So I suggest doing that if you can potentially. But you definitely want to try and get one. I was able to pull Aaron Nola to anchor my staff in a mock draft I did the other day. And then my second was Luis Severino. But then based on the way the draft flowed, it just didn't quite work out for me. Because some of the guys that were still there, I wasn't high on, just for obvious reasons. Somebody else I'm high on, but did not have room for him. Clearly, the National League Cy Young winner, Jacob deGrom. He's going to have very similar numbers to last year as far as strikeouts, whip. His win should go up, though. Why I don't have him in those top five is for a reason that very few are paying attention to. Um, let's see, there we go. I had the lighting. There's rumors that if he doesn't get an extension, he could limit his own innings. I don't put a whole lot of stock into that, but if you take him as a first round pick or a second round pick, you don't want any thought of anything being limited. You want to avoid those guys. You want to avoid the history guys. So, Jacob deGrom, if there's a threat that he may stop at 150 innings this year, that'd be similar, not as drastic, but similar to taking Le'Veon Bell in the NFL fantasy last year because you weren't sure what you were getting out of him. When deGrom's on the field, he's going to be really good. But he could only give you 150 innings. That could be over 30 starts where he pulls himself after the fifth inning. Or the team pulls him because, his agent has requested it. Any number of things can happen. If he signs an extension between now and opening day, he's going to jump back up my draft board into the top 5 starting pitchers. Now, a few guys that I am avoiding at all cost. And to each their own. You can, you don't have to. First guy, I never thought I would avoid. Clayton Kershaw. And I'll tell you why. His very first game, he already got shut down because of shoulder stiffness. Well, that'll wake up some people. So if you weren't with us, you are now. Popped right out of my holder. All right, let me just remaneuver here. You still got everybody? Okay. So Clayton Kershaw. Definitely one that I'm avoiding because I said he had the shoulder soreness, but now it's lingering. So the fact that it's lingering, it's not good. He's had injury history the last couple years. It's just, he's not somebody you really want to deal with, especially at the top of the draft, and definitely not where he's been going in drafts. He's still been a top 5 pick in a lot of leagues because of name recognition. This is not somebody you want to go for. He's pitched at least 20 games each season, but if you look at his innings, since his age 27 season, 2015, he threw 232 innings to lead the league. Since then, 149, 175, 161 innings last year. Yeah, and the velocity's down. If you see the velocity is down on any pitcher, just run. That's like the kiss of death right there. Hey, how you doing, guys? And, also, I said it in the beginning, if you have any fantasy questions while we're doing this, feel free to cut me off and I'll answer them as we go. Somebody else I'm down on, and again, it's just personal preference. Not everybody will be down on him. Chris Sale. I know I'm shocking some people because in so many mock drafts I've done, so many projections, he's the second pitcher off the board. And he's been pretty durable. But why I'm down on him specifically is if you look at his inning totals. His last year in Chicago, 226 innings. 2017, he led the league at 214. Last year, 158. So he was dealing with some injuries. I also have a hard time going with pitchers who make it all the way to the World Series because they don't have a very long offseason. They don't have the same amount of time to rest as some of the other pitchers do. Kershaw ran into it last year. Sale could very well run into it again this year. Especially when you look at the strikeouts are still up there, but he's been losing a touch on his velocity as well. And he's a thrower. He has a good slider, but he doesn't have that changeup that'll let him pitch off of diminished velocity on his fastball. Somebody else I'm avoiding, and he's not a top pick, so you don't necessarily have to worry about him. Luis Castillo. Castillo had a phenomenal season 2 years ago. And a lot of people were high on him after that because his rookie season, he was 24 in 2017. He started 15 games, had an ERA of 3.12. Struck out 9.9 per 9 innings. Very solid numbers. If he could have kept that up, I would have been all for it. And this is why I'm a big proponent of batting average in play. Let's see. Are you guys hearing anything? See, can you guys hear anything? I realized the side was on my microphone. So I just want to make sure you guys could hear stuff. Okay. Thank you. So, what I'm saying about Castillo, really good rookie season, and this is a pretty easy stat to find. So do a little research on this if you're, doing your own projections. Even if you want to go off the average draft position for most guys, still just use a little bit of this as a baseline. So when it comes to BABIP, batting average on balls in play, for a pitcher, 300 is average. So if he's going through a whole lineup, the batting average in play against him is 300. That's average. So it pretty much sets that baseline. So if an average hitter performs against him, whatever his ERA is, when his BABIP is 300, that's the pitcher that he is. So why this affects Castillo is in that phenomenal rookie season, his BABIP was 242. Very, very low for a pitcher, which led to his ERA being what it was. Because he still walked 32 guys, 90 innings. So that's over 3 per 9 innings, which can affect him, especially when he gives up almost a homer a game. Now, last season, his BABIP jumped to 280. So it's still above average for a pitcher, but his ERA also went to 4.30. So his walks kind of leveled out, but I'm focused more on him regressing to the mean as far as when batters put the ball in play. So I'm not big on Castillo because I see a bigger regression coming. I think this season he's going to be in the 4.6, 4.7 range. I might not even draft him unless it's one of the last rounds. I'm not going to with him in any league, specifically because I don't want to take him where he's traditionally going. He's going in about the 16th or the 17th round in standard leagues, and I'm just not willing to take him there. Okay, so now we got some sleepers. These are guys that I'm targeting. I was able to get them in all my mock drafts so far. One guy. Who do I think will make the leap this year? Okay, that's... Yeah, I was saying that's a great question because that's kind of where I'm headed to now. One of them, and I wouldn't necessarily say it's making the leap because he was in similar to Luis Castillo's boat last year, is Shane Bieber. So why I like Bieber so much is his control. He's got the same benefit that Corey Kluber has in pitching behind a good offense while also facing weaker offenses in the AL Central. So he should be able to pick them apart. I could see him easily with 15 or 16 wins this season and an ERA in the mid-3s, which could put him right in all-star recognition territory. Where he's really going to blossom this year, because he has good stuff. He has a feel for 4 pitches. His Strikeouts per 9 last year were 9.3, but he was walking less than 2 a game. So he doesn't hurt himself with walks, which is going to go a long way for him this year. I'm so high on Bieber. I actually traded my first round pick in my Dynasty League this year for him. Last season, I got him and Justin Upton for Aaron Hicks in this year's first round pick. Now, we do keep 20 keepers, and we can keep prospects, anything like that. But usually there's some pretty good talent in the first round, and I viewed him so highly that I wanted to make sure he was on my squad this year. A couple others that I feel are going to do the same thing. Marcus Stroman. And you might be, well, why Marcus Stroman? He was terrible last year. That's true. I chalk a lot in kind of follow-up seasons after World Baseball Classic situations. I kind of just mark those out because it's such a different spring training approach for players. Stroman is a peak candidate to have a bounce back. And I'm always going to jump on a bounce back guy because his average draft position will fall. So in 2017, well, actually in 2018, he was going in about the 11th or the 12th round. This year, he's been falling anywhere from the 20th to the 22nd round. So if I can even take him at the 18th or 19th to make sure I get him, I'll do it all day. Because, yes, last year he had a 5.54 ERA. But he's only 1 year removed from a 3.09. And this is pitching in the American League East. So I don't want him to anchor my staff because the Ks per 9 just aren't there. But last year, the walks were up. So that affected him. His home runs were actually down. But the fact that the walks were up, they were getting a benefit from a higher batting average in play than what is normal for Marcus Stroman. And why I don't put a whole lot of stock into his BABIP last year is because he's been in the league for 5 seasons. He was injury shortened, so he has 4 full seasons that he's played. Luis Castillo only has 2. So Castillo's you can view as an outlier and use league averages more for him, when Stroman has established a baseline and last year stood out as an outlier. So I think he's going to be on his way back. Someone else? Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray is, to me, has Carl Pavano written all over him. Pavano was a good pitcher. And I had him in some fantasy leagues back in the day. But Sonny Gray was an all-star in 2015, not that long ago. And that was when he was in Oakland. He just has a knack for pitching. His walks are usually pretty solid. I think what happened to him the last 2 seasons is he saw how small Yankee Stadium is, and it just has this feeling of a pitcher, of a hitter's haven, that he was more careful with hitters than he had been in the past. His ERA, or his walks per 9 innings jumped to 4 per 9 when they had never been much over 3 in the past. And the ERA went with it. Now Cincinnati, I think he's going to take some pressure off. I think he's going to do well there. He's got pitching coaches he's familiar with. And it's not like he's going to a team that doesn't have an offense. He's also going to benefit from facing the Pirates. Well, the Cardinals are going to be improved. But he's going to get some starts against the Pirates. He's going to get some starts against a Cubs team that's been banged up more often than they're not. I do like Velasquez too. Velasquez is another guy who's he's another guy who controls the ball well. I actually saw him when he was in the minor leagues. He's got really good stuff. And he's he has the benefit too of having a good offense around him. That's why I have Nola so high. I'm also high on Nick Pivetta too. I think Pavetta's going to have a good year. Um, Velasquez, yeah, I expect, I don't know how many he'll win. A lot of it is he's just going to have to come back around to where he was in his first year in Philadelphia when he walked 3 per 9 and his strikeouts were over 10. Last year and the year before, his walks per 9 innings were almost 4. Well, one year it was 4.3. And his strikeouts came down at the same time. So I think Velasquez just needs to go out there and pitch and not nibble so much. Yeah, exactly. I'm assuming you're a Phillies fan. You've encountered some Vince Velasquez games before. That's the thing with the young guys too, is they know hitters are so aggressive. They don't want to give up the home run, but they think with hitters being so aggressive, the strikeout is all that matters. Now, if you need strikeouts, like say you don't get one of the top 5 guys, a Scherzer, Kluber, Verlander, Cole, or Nola, you may need some strikeouts late. Then you may want to draft a Velasquez over a guy like Sonny Gray because Velasquez will get the strikeouts. They both may have similar ERA. I think Gray has a better shot to lower ERA than Velasquez, but Velasquez will definitely have more strikeouts. So if you need strikeouts late, Velasquez is a very good place to look. I also like Bieber for that too. I don't think many people are high on Bieber because of kind of where he's at currently. I also really like Blake Snell. This card kind of got lost in the shuffle. Even though he's in the AL East, another good control pitcher, high strikeout guy. And somehow he was able to get wins last year in Tampa. So I'm not too concerned about that lineup, and I think they've gotten a little better than they were last year. Okay, one thing I want to leave you with as far as relievers go is the Josh Hader trap. So Josh Hader, and I love this card. It's his rookie card. It's number 29 out of 50. I love that card. Just discovered it was numbered not too long ago. But the trap that is Josh Hader. Everybody falling. Okay. I guess we're going. It was saying reconnecting on my phone. So yeah, let's see. I'll just wave and see if it shows. Okay, so we're live. Okay. Yes, I think the Brewers are kind of running him into the ground a bit. Similar to what happened to Andrew Miller a few years ago, and now people aren't going after Andrew Miller at all. So, if I just say your relief pitching spots in your league, you're going to want a guy that gets you saves. So you're going to want to target the Blake Trinans, Edwin Diaz's, the Kenley Jansens. Even Sean Doolittle's going later in leagues. I like him. I like David Robertson this year. I've always liked him as a closer. I think he's going to do pretty well in Philadelphia, especially if they're going to go with him. I liked Sir Anthony, and he had a great name. But, if Robertson's going to close, he has the experience. He's going to handle it well. One thing you got to keep an eye on, too, is where Craig Kimbrell ends up. And this always makes it more challenging, kind of as you're doing it, because you have no clue where he could end up. I have Cody Allen in the Dynasty League, and once I saw he signed with the Angels, I traded him to the Yankees. Or not to the Yankees. As soon as I saw he ended up with the Angels, I traded him for Tanaka for my team. So if you just look at Hader's numbers, strikes out 143 last year, won 6 games. He did have 12 saves, but you can't rely on him getting those saves again. So if you're sticking him in a pitching spot that can be used for a starter or a reliever, you can pick any starter off the scrap heap. You can use a Sonny Gray. You can even use Luis Castillo if you want. They're going to get you 143 strikeouts and at least 6 wins. and you're going to be able to get them 10 or 15 rounds later, and then you'd have to take Josh Hader. Because I'll say Hader will probably be the fourth or fifth reliever off the board. He'll come off the board before some closers will. You don't need to be the one that's taking him. His ERA also went up to 2.4 last year, and he got hit a little bit harder, gave up more home runs. As you get tired, you leave the ball up a little bit more. It sails farther. So that's definitely somebody that I would avoid as well. Especially when you can get somebody like him for much later who can do the exact same thing if you want. So Chad Green last year, he struck out 94, so less than Hader. Won 8 games. The year before he won 5 games, struck out 103. So Green has been averaging over 11 strikeouts per 9 innings the past couple seasons. 2017, he averaged over 13 strikeouts a game. So if you need a guy similar to Hader who can do what he does, I would get a Chad Green. Because he's going to have the strikeouts. He's going to have a chance to get some wins. Same with Archie Bradley. And you'll be able to get them for far later than you get Josh Hader. So as far as the sleepers, things like that, that's pretty much all I had for you. If you have any questions, do I like anyone on the Red staff? I like Sonny Gray. Not at the top. Tanner Roark, I think, is going to have a pretty decent bounce back season. I was actually breaking down some of his footage the other day. And his control's back. I think he's going to have a pretty good year. I'm not big on Alex Wood. I saw him pitch today. He was pressing a little bit, I think, being with a new team. So I'm not big on him. And it's really hard to tell who's going to fill out behind them. I'm beyond those ones. But I like Gray. I like Roark. You could take a shot at Castillo if it's towards the end. I just don't think he's going to fall. I think people are still reaching on him a little too much. Okay, let me try and plug my phone in. Last time I did this, I ended up ripping the camera out of the tripod. So I'll move it. Okay. Let's see, I'm actually breaking down Yankees Blue Jays right now. Another guy I like, and I wouldn't draft him as far as pitchers go unless you're in a dynasty league and they're owned already. But keep an eye on him late is Forrest Whitley. I don't know if you want to take him at the end of the draft. But I would definitely keep an eye on him in April and see what he does. He just has electric stuff. I was watching film of him today. I also really like Jesus Luzardo from the A's. If he makes the starting rotation, get him on your team as well. He's a control guy. He feeds off his changeup, which really helps him as a lefty. But he has a mid-90s fastball. So he's just got stuff that'll play up. I also really like Marco Estrada out in Oakland because he's a fly ball pitcher, but it's a very big stadium. So I could see his ERA drop down between 3 and 3.5. Let's see, I'll probably go about another 5 minutes and end it at 10. So people can get to bed and do whatever they need to do. But after this, if you have any follow-up questions as well, Cody's Card Closet at gmail.com. I'd be happy to help out. I may even consider doing a fantasy baseball league for viewers. if that's an interest. Well, I keep saying low battery. Hmm. Hey, no problem. I'm glad you were able to join in. Hopefully, you got something out of it. Do you play fantasy? Yeah, I didn't used to play hardcore until the last couple years, um, when I got into the Dynasty League, because then it really goes year round for us. Oh, I just saw a photographer get hit in the head with a foul ball in the Yankees game. Um, but because there we have a 40 player roster and we keep 20, and literally as soon as the MLB draft happens in June, those players that are drafted are available in our league. So it's not like a draft position thing. We can keep any of those 20. So I've got a couple a couple prospects because I inherited a team that wasn't really solid. And then I traded some earlier for some prospects to try and build. But I think I'm similar to like the Padres. I'm like almost there now. Yeah, I completely agree. That's kind of how I am with fantasy football too. Because I like the Broncos in the NFL, but I'll watch a lot of teams if I have a player for them. So like my outfielders in the Dynasty League right now are Mitch Haniger, George Springer, and Cody Bellinger. But I have Justin Upton as well. So I end up watching a lot of 10 o'clock games because all those players are out west. But it's fun to watch some different teams. Besides, I get the Nationals and the Orioles here, and I'm a Nationals fan. But it's nice to be able to watch some of these other teams play too, and some of the players, and just keeping up with. I like keeping up with the minor leagues too because we have a AAA team right here in town. Yeah, I hope he does too. Um, I traded Walker Bueller for him because I just needed some power. I actually did a card signing for Tops. Chris Taylor is going to have autographs in the 2019 Top Series 2, which comes out in June. I'm in Virginia Beach, and Taylor's going to have autographs in Series 2. So Tops hired me because Chris Taylor lives in Virginia Beach to take a couple thousand cards over to his house and get him to sign them. So I went over there and we talked a lot about the Dodgers. And he honestly said Cody Bellinger could be a 40-40 guy, but their their third base coach isn't one of the best in the league, so they rarely have him steal. But he said if Bellinger was with like, he could easily be a 40-40 guy. But I think the Diamondbacks have one of the best third base coaches in all of baseball because he'll just send them all the time, and he's just really aware of pitchers' tendencies and catchers. But I'd love to see Bellinger have that type of number. Where are you located? Ooh, I just saw Danny Jansen gun out a Yankee at second base. Okay, I used I lived in Altoona for a year, So I've been to York a couple times. Yeah, we've got the Norfolk Tides here, so I go to a lot of AAA games, and I do a lot of in-person autographs there. So I was able to get okay. Yeah, I haven't heard that town name in a while. So I used to get last year was actually kind of fun. I was able to meet Eloy Jimenez and get his autograph. Ronald Acuna. We had some perks of that. I'd like to come to some like Atlantic League stuff at some point because I think you all have the York Revolution, right? In the that's Atlantic. I don't think that's the Frontier League. That's Atlantic League, right? Because I know there's a lot of players in the Atlantic League I'd like to get autographs from. Just some ex big league guys. Yeah. Yeah, we've got, I think our closest one is right across the border in Maryland on the Eastern Shore. Um, Brooks Robinson built that stadium. Yeah, the Harrisburg Senators. I'd like to get up to watch them at some point because I used to love when Syracuse would come down and play Norfolk because they were AAA for the Nationals. But with the shifting this year, the Nationals are now out in Fresno in the PCL, and the Mets are in Syracuse. So I'll get to see Tim Tebow this year, which would be really exciting. But now I'll have to make my way to Harrisburg Senators game to get some Nationals autographs in, or find somebody out west who can help me with the PCL. Which, I mean, it's fine. I like to get it myself. That's pretty cool. Hoskins, I don't know if I got to see him play in person or not. I think I was already living down here when he was with Lehigh Valley. He was one of those though, and I think Eloy Jimenez is the same way. You could just watch him, and it was almost like watching a high schooler play with middle schoolers, where you could just see him and just know they had it. So I think he's going to be a lot better too if they can put him at first base full time. I thought getting Santana and moving him to the outfield. I liked Santana, but I never thought Hoskins was an outfielder. Yeah, I like Cousins. I've got an eye on him in Dynasty. I've been breaking down some of his just in case. I might take a flyer at him in the Dynasty League draft because I have a lot of outfielders, but you always want to carry a prospect or two. So, are you in the the Phillies need Harper camp, or where are you with spending 300 plus million for Bryce Harper? I'm just curious. I haven't asked a Phillies fan yet to see their reaction or their thoughts. Yeah, I agree. I'm afraid you guys are ending up similar to what happened with the Orioles and Chris Davis, where they were really the only team bidding. Why keep driving the price up when you're the only one that's in it? So it's almost like, okay, if you want the 10-year deal, go to Philly. If you really want to be in LA, here's a 5-year deal. Just give him an offer. If he doesn't take it, leave. Kind of like the Nationals gave him an offer in September and he didn't take it. So he moved on. Honestly, if the rumors are coming from Scott Boras, I don't believe anything. The Nationals have signed so many of his guys that I really don't believe anything he says. I just, I think he's terrible for baseball because he always has the big client who weren't playing with him. So they went out and got Patrick Corbin. And they're like, okay, the money isn't here now. And then the Dodgers weren't playing, so they go and get A.J. Pollock. All these guys are good enough to be in the big leagues. So you don't see teams win the World Series that have so much money tied up to just one game. But yeah, I think I'm gonna have to run and do a few different little things around here before calling it a night. I appreciate you popping over though.